let's get started. So I'm Dave Westman, teach here, and I also have a small company called Politically Incorrect Games. So the Trade Secret Team consists of students from UAT, undergrads, grads, alumni. Many of them have gotten course credit through various classes, and some of them have gotten internship credit through Politically Incorrect Games. They have made me very proud in their accomplishments. It's, I think, one of the most impressive projects to come out of UAT. Managing a team of students is always difficult. Managing a team of 28 students, many of them non-resident, is next to impossible. So the results speak for themselves there. They've learned a lot about distributed development, agile development methodologies. They've learned to use a lot of tools that they had never heard of before, outside of what they thought they were going to be learning about. You know, here's an artist tool. Well, now you also need to learn something about collaborating online with other people. This project is now in its third semester, which is another area of difficulty in any student project. You have people graduating, people moving on, and there's an inevitable amount of churn each time that happens. They've managed that process surprisingly well. So I think I'd probably just turn it over to them to go into the details about their experience. Because I was sort of the bungee boss. I'd come in and, you guys working hard? Great. Make that red. And then
Or like, no, stay in blue. we like
but yeah, they actually listen to me now and then, and I think it shows.
Yeah. All right, so
take over.
we have we don't want to bore you guys too much, so we're going to talk about how we went to GDC, what got us there. But before that, we're going to talk about our experience at GDC and how awesome it was. So if you can, she's already gone. So go ahead and Kim, go to the next one. One of the big things that really benefited us was we snagged at the Unity booth thanks to Tyler Coleman. So I'll talk about that.
Yeah, so our initial plan to go to GDC was pretty much to roll in there and guerrilla market our game. We had pamphlets, handouts, business cards. We just wanted to get the name out as best we could, talking to recruiters on the floor. That's actually really hard to do because guess what? 100 other companies are trying to do the same thing, and they might have more money than you, so they can hire people to do it. Luckily for us, Tyler Coleman happened to snag us a place at the Unity booth, as well as the TELUS team. And our game is developed in Unity, for those of you who don't know. So getting our game highlighted at the booth of the engine where we made our game is totally awesome, because we get to talk to the people who created the engine, and they got to see our product. It was totally awesome to see that's a Unity engineer playing my game right now.
Yeah.
He wrote the code for what is going on. So that was really cool. And it was great because anytime we talked to a recruiter about our game, we could just say, hey, go play the game, it's at the Unity booth.
It was a huge point for us.
Yeah.
People were like, oh, you're at the Unity booth, okay, I will actually go check it out, as opposed to just blowing you off and walking around, you know, so.
Gave us a ton of instant credibility, which was really nice.
Yeah.
So that was the highlight. Did you want to see them?
Oh, I was just saying, not least of which their conference badges, which initially said student at UAT, we had those changed to be whatever their actual role was, producer at Politically Incorrect Games. Gives you a bit more credibility when you're talking to people at GDC.
Yeah, totally do that if you go to GDC. Don't put student on there because people blow you off instantly. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about our marketing. So we had these awesome business cards made. Actually, before I do that, how many people here on the game design? Like, everybody does games, game field, whether it's art. Raise your hands. Can I see? Is everybody here for games? Okay. So how many people go to GDC? Like 4 of you? Wow. Okay, well, you need to fix that. Go to GDC right away. Even if you don't go there with anything to show off, just to get in the industry, get the feel, see what people are doing, totally worthwhile. And something to sell yourself, an awesome business card. Kaylee Rasmussen, she went to school here for graphic design, and she is awesome. She made a whole bunch of business card designs for us, and we settled on these ones. You can't really tell, but in the middle is the line between the front and back. So to get these, what happens is you have the front is the left side, the back's the right side, and so it's kind of like a collectible card game. When you put them together, it makes the whole image. And we had 4 different designs. We could have done as many as like 10 or 15 because we had awesome art. But what she did is she went through, and so like my name's on the front of this one, and then Brendan say he had the same design, his name's on the front of another one. So you collect mine and Brendan's card, and when you put them together, it makes like a collectible card game. It just made it fun. A lot of people were collecting cards just to do it, and you know, if people are looking at your cards and showing them off and my name's on it, they're like, oh, who's the art director? You know, like get an email about it, get a phone call, whatever it takes. It's really nice. Fabcom helped us out. We had pamphlets, and we had little marketing like flyers too, which were pretty cool. And it was just a great way to we could hand out to people as they walk by the uni booth. Oh, hey, come check out Trade Secret. And a lot of people came back with flyers or just to pick up more of our business cards, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, the extra second and a half that they spend looking at your business card is more time for them to remember you. A lot of times they're going to take a business card and just shove it in with all the other ones. Every time I handed one of these cards out, somebody looked at it and was like, oh, that's cool.
Yep.
It was well worth it to spend the time. Get your business cards ahead of time. Don't print them a week before GDC.
Yeah, don't print them at the bindery. Like, get them professionally done. It really makes a difference.
I've done that as well. This is a much better choice.
All right, so the culmination of our experience at GDC was we got a few publishers interested in our game, and while we don't have anything cemented down yet, we're in talks with several. And a few of them mentioned up here. The little guy down there, Origo, was an Asian-based company that is expanding to the United States, and they were interested in picking up our game, so we're talking to them. The big one that Tyler Coleman, where are you, Tyler? Is he gone still?
He's
okay. He got us all this. He's an amazing PR guy. He's talking to Congregate right now, and we're trying to get a deal set up with them possibly. But the biggest highlight was we got a sit down with Valve. It was Tellus and Trade Secret, and we got to chat with the Valve guys about the Steam process and what it takes to get a game through Steam, and they were pretty receptive. They said both games looked great, but since they're not complete yet, because ours is in alpha right now, that we'll contact them later. So we have the forums submission and everything ready to go for that. So that's pretty exciting. Like I said, nothing's cemented down yet, but it was a huge step in, and that's what's required. That's what GDC is good for. So when you go to GDC, don't expect anything like that. I mean, this is my third time now, so I was hoping something like this would happen eventually, but at GDC, it's important just to get there and meet people because you never know what will happen. You might talk to somebody at a party and find out that they're the CEO of Blizzard, and if they like your work, then you made a friend kind of deal.
Yeah.
So we took a lot away from this, and even if nothing happens, we still met contacts. We were in talks with Augusta, who works at Valve. Like, that's pretty exciting. So that was definitely the highlight of our trip, and we're pretty proud of it. So we have a plan set up for, I'm not sure, I can't vouch for Tellus, but I know Trade Secret has a plan. A lot of us are graduating at the end of the semester, so we have 5 weeks essentially. We are planning on cutting our game's scope down, which we'll talk about later, and releasing it May 1st. And at that time, we're going to contact Steam and Congregate again and see if we can get a package system where we have DLC for the later stuff, because we have a lot of stuff we haven't done yet. But anything else you guys want to talk about that?
Team dynamics.
Yeah,
We'll get there.
let's start right in there. Huh?
Kim?
So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go to GDC.
Go to
GDC.
Seriously.
yeah,
Even if
Even-
it's go ahead.
Even just the student pass for the one day, getting out there is worth it. Take a step up to the expo, maybe your next year. I went every year I was in attendance at UAT. I went as a freshman and as a sophomore. Go to GDC.
and the earlier the better. If you go early, you find out exactly what it's like, because if you've never gone, the expo floor is kind of a system shock. You don't know how to handle it, and it's much easier to have a plan if you go a second time, knowing what it was like the first time. Another important thing is, don't take criticism from people badly. It's really important that you absorb as much information you can from this conference. And I've been working on my portfolio for 3 years now, and I still go to GDC. People are like, that sucks. Fix this, And they're right. I look at it and say, okay, and I fix it, and then it's better. So it's a huge learning experience for everybody, and especially in the game design course. You should really be going.
Yeah, definitely. Always be looking at ways that you could always branch out in other directions, like networking with other people, going to parties, passing out those business cards and making those connections, because you never know. 5 years down the road, that guy that you might have swapped business cards with is now, has a job and is looking for new help. So it could definitely lead to something down the road.
Yeah. Look at Tyler Coleman. That's it.
Done.
Yeah, he's a networking machine.
Yeah.
That guy. And don't forget to go to like roundtables and like education summits and stuff because you'll learn a lot.
Truly. What's up next?
So how we got sponsored by UAT to go to GDC.
So this is kind of like, we don't want to get too braggy about it, but we're trying to help you guys kind of show you what we did and what we did differently than other people that the school noticed and sent us for. So a little history. We didn't start Trade Secret as a new team. We had experience from actually one of Weston's classes, experimental gameplay, and it was a core group of eight of us. Eight or nine of us. We're all designers, all game designers. None of us had programming or real art experience, and we wound up working on the two Surface projects you can play outside, WPB and Starfist, and we developed those both in 15 weeks. And that was kind of a grueling but efficient, like it was a good process. We learned a lot, and Brendan is now a competent scripter because of it, and it really kind of set the standard for what we wanted out of a team. And they were small projects, you know, so it wasn't a big deal. We finished one in 7 weeks, and then we moved on. So after both of those, we were really excited to start a big project, one that would span multiple semesters, and we knew how to work with each other. We didn't jump in. So I think that was a huge, critical part of how our team has stayed together. We do a small project first and see if you like working with the people you're working with. 'Cause
For sure.
if you don't, then working with them over 10 months is going to suck.
Yeah.
So.
And I would point out something else about that. The team that was forged in those projects also built a reputation that was visible to other people, that these guys get things done. So when they announced that they've got this bigger project and they need people, they had no trouble recruiting people to come work on Trade Secret.
Yeah. First semester we jumped from the initial 9 stayed on, then we jumped to about 14 immediately in the second semester. And by the end of that semester, we jumped to 20 plus members. Like you said, the credibility of having a finished product and showing good work as we continued on really helps you gain new members. Another point, talked about, we walked into these 2 games with 9 designers. There's something that you should take away from a small project. Realize that you might have to branch out and learn something new, and in fact, you should take advantage of that. Andrew's right. I learned to script and program on WPV and Starfist. It's where I got my chops, and it's why I'm competent in scripting now. But I didn't intentionally want to do that. I've always been a game designer. I took game design classes. But I branched out because we needed somebody to program, and so I did it. And we need somebody to do art, and Andy's art is still in the game, is in Trade Secret after he learned how to do a little bit better on WPV.
And he's colorblind.
Yeah.
That says anything.
The point is, you have to branch out. You're not going to be able to do just one thing on a small project. You need to be able to work in other fields.
It's going to carry on through your entire career. My last 2 industry jobs, I was hired to be a lead designer or a senior designer, and I ended up being the audio lead at both projects before I left. So, you know, my willingness to do something else, and that's you just have to be motivated to do whatever it takes to make that game and that team successful.
Unless you're a programmer, and then just program. Really, you're going to be fine.
All right, so the thing that really set our project apart from other projects, I think, in my opinion, is our team. Our game it's great. It's a game. There's some innovative mechanics in it, and we have a cool art style, but it's really our team and how we function together that kind of sealed the deal. We have some great team dynamics, and I think we want to try and impart that on you guys. Is find people that you enjoy working with, find people that are hard workers. So that's what we're going to start burning through here.
Yeah. So basically, cooperation is key. Definitely want to go into this, and then having the previous experiences from the last 2 projects with these guys, definitely kind of like, set the tone for, being cooperative with other members, and then bringing new members in, and then integrating them and kind of taking them under your wing. It's definitely one of those things where you all know a certain level of competence that you guys have to have, and then you guys just have to we just need to buckle down, and we all just have to work towards this common goal, because we did want this project to be great, and it's already doing so well, and I know it's going to continue to do great. So I mean, I've there's been times like where, you don't want to cooperate, and there's going to be times where, the majority of the team, based on a certain mechanic of the game, like say double jump or high jump, will probably kind of nip you in the butt later on. But it's always in good fun. We always like weigh the pros and cons for each thing. But we do always take everyone's opinion into account, and that's actually like pretty good because there's a lot of people out there who don't like to speak up, or they might feel shy. So like we kind of like nudge them in the right direction and kind of get them feeling pretty good and make them part like they're the team. So
It's inevitable that when you're in a large team, especially with 28 people, you're gonna have conflicts of interest and disagreements, and it's important that you handle it in a way that doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. The worst part of working on a large team is when you feel like you're not appreciated, and we try as hard as we can to make sure that, like Kyle said, that everybody's opinion matters. Even if you're wrong, you have to learn that, okay, I can be wrong, and if 97% of the team says, yeah, you're wrong, then you have to move on. And so we kind of adopted a process of if we have a problem, everybody gets together and we just kind of hold hands, talk it out kind of deal.
We really just make fun of the person until they quiet
until
down
they cry.
and leave. Yeah.
definitely at my expense.
So, it's critical to have cooperation in your team. But go ahead, Kim. Go to the next one. Synergy circles, yeah. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of what a synergy circle is. We can't put the real picture up because it's probably offensive, so we use this one. But seriously, synergy circles is our term that we use when we work. We'll pile into 108, and at first everyone was kind of like spread out in their own corners and stuff, and we said no. If we're gonna be working together for a year, we have to adopt this kind of, like I said, cooperative attitude. So we forced people to work in a circle, and when we have our discussions, we sit in a circle. And as arbitrary and mundane as that sounds, it really helps. It doesn't let anyone sit at the lead of the table, and it gives everyone a chance to offer their opinion. And it's something that we learned and works out well for us. Might not work out for everybody, but
Yeah, everyone's on level playing field.
Yeah, I think that kind of pans into our leadership system. Essentially, you become a lead if you're working harder than everybody else. That's really what it comes down to. I technically lead scripter, but Brian is a way better programmer than I am. I just have been here longer and I work harder. He definitely knows way more than I do, though, for sure. And for the art leads, you just work harder and you do different things. It's a pretty flat system, essentially. Like, if you have an opinion about the art in the game, you can make a change, even as the freshman artist who just came in. That's how we run our system. Is everybody's opinion does matter, and the leads are the people who are just working really hard right now.
One thing about leads is it's not necessarily the guy who's got the most seniority or who's necessarily the best at that particular field. Sometimes it's just they step up and start doing leadership things. They start trying to organize their department. They start trying to make sure that the other departments know what's going on. Kyle, right very early on, stepped up and started doing producer things. So he's a natural producer. He became the producer.
Way back in Starfizz days.
Yes.
Which is a great segue to the next slide. Recruitment. So I'm assuming everybody here is on a project or looking at projects or wanting to go to GDC for the project, which is
want
probably why we're
jobs.
here. They want jobs, that too. So our recruitment policy, basically what I want to get away to everybody here is that it doesn't matter your knowledge, like Westman was saying. What matters is that you're going to work hard. So we have a lot of people on the team that came in with not great knowledge, but they knew they wanted to, say, model or do concept art or whatever. And they come in and they sit down and they do it. And what's mattered more for me as the art lead and the director is that I can rely on you to get your work done. So if you tell me you're going to have a model on Friday, even if it needs tweaks and you need to finish it over the weekend, if you have it to me on Friday and it's not the best model, that's way better than somebody who's going to give me the best model ever when they get around to it. Like, it doesn't help me in any way, shape, or form. I can't get a deadline. I can't get stuff done. And the way that the art pipeline works is that kind of has to go in a process. You have to concept it, you have to model it, you have to rig and animate it. And if I'm waiting to do something because somebody else isn't doing their stuff, the whole pipeline gets slowed down. If you can't have enemies in the game and set them up for level construction and placement, it's no fun, so it slows everything down. And so what I want to get away to everybody is that if you work hard, people notice. Like, I know the people on my team that when I need something done, I can go to and be like, please do this, and I know it'll be done. And then there's the people on my team that I have to kind of give deadlines and make sure things are, everything's being kept up. And it kind of sucks to have to wait for everybody. So what I recommend everybody is go out, get on a project, and work hard. Show that you, even if you don't know everything, you're willing to be there. Show up for all the meetings. Put in your 4 or 5 hours. People take notice, and that's how our team got built. Is through
reputation
people.
is critical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I go into an art class and I see this guy kicking out great work, and I invite him to the team, and he does great work. And then I've seen other people where I've invited them to come, and then they kind of show up and do the work. It's just not. It's not relevant, no matter how good you are, if you don't put in the time, and people do notice that.
It kind of goes into the cooperation aspect too, with the recruitment. Because, when we do bring in someone, we actually kind of do put them in a position where they're forced to, talk with the other, members of the group. So it's definitely kind of like one of those things where you're technically being interviewed and you don't even know it. So it is kind of like an interesting process of how we actually go about recruitment, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, so work hard. Don't be great, work hard.
Yeah.
By the way, we had to explain these pictures. This was kind of a little team building thing we did as a break. We all took pictures outside with a blank whiteboard, and everybody got to Photoshop each other's stuff. So these pictures you see strewn about are our Photoshops of other people. So we're actually making fun of them in all of them. But the key thing with this is our atmosphere. Early on, we adopted and we realized that we're not the most professional people. We swear and curse like sailors. We drink lots of beer. It's just how.
Not on campus, though.
Yeah. Not on campus.
So instead of fighting that, we decided, okay, we're gonna have to tailor an atmosphere to fit our team, and we did, and it worked really well. We have fun and we're casual, but like Zach was saying, every one of us pulls their weight, and if you don't pull your weight, people notice and it gets said, and no one wants that. So everybody on our team really, we have a good atmosphere and they all do their work, and it's important that if you're on a team like this, that you realize if this is not the kind of atmosphere that you want to be in, that it might not be the good fit for you. If we're all a bunch of boring, dry people and then Zach came in, he wouldn't be interested in working with us.
Yeah.
So
when you roll into crunch and you work 12 hours and you have to come back and do it the next day, if you're not having fun, that's gonna suck. But I look forward to crunch every day. I love, we're like Tuesdays when we all get together and the whole team's working. One of my favorite days of the week. It's so fun.
Leeds got nothing done, but the entire team put out a lot of
Yeah,
work.
it's great. Like, you sit around and help people all day, but I love
What do you
the
need?
atmosphere
What do you
of this
need?
team.
But on the same note too, don't go into a project with your best friend because you know he can do something. It's a great way for you guys to hate each other, because to think that he's going to pull his weight and then he doesn't, and you're really into this project really sucks, right? You're stuck with a friend that you either have to say you need to get off the project or we have to stop being friends, right? So don't go in because a friend does something,
I would have to say weaknesses and strengths, know your own weaknesses, and then, try to find those strengths in someone else, and then start the project, and then that's how it kind of grew. We kind of did our whole, what are you good at? What are you not good at? And, we played off of each other's strengths and weaknesses. I think that's been a big help in our atmosphere.
Yeah.
So.
We even brought in a Colombian, if that makes any difference.
Yeah.
Freshman.
all right, so we're talking about some of the communications that we have and the software we use. What do you want to talk about this?
All right. So first off, I guess we probably should have talked about this earlier, but anyhow, our game is built in Unity. This is a free engine that any one of you can go download right now, and you can publish with the free license as well. You can publish to the web, which is how our game is published. It's a really awesome engine. I've worked in Unreal 3, a little bit in UDK. I love Unity. As a designer and now a scripter, it's really easy to make things happen quickly because everything works exactly the same. I don't have to worry about art assets. Yeah, I can drag anything like a Photoshop file. I can just drag it into Unity and it's done. A Maya file, I can drag it in and it's done. It's in. I can drag it into the game from there. It's really, really nice tool. I highly recommend using it. It's very easy for 2D games, 3D games, whatever you want to do. Unless you're making God of War 5, you can probably use the Unity engine.
Only skipping 4 to Origin 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Brandon was saying, as a level designer, I've used every editor that I could get my hands on, and we were just talking about, I had to go back and use UDK for something, and I realized how spoiled Unity has made me. Unity is a fantastic editor. If you guys haven't given it a shot or a chance, it's really easy to pick up, and it's very robust for such a small package. So making the choice to work in this as opposed to a more cumbersome or heavy editor was a really a critical part of our decision, because it allowed us to learn the editor in a less amount of time than it would have taken us to get used to UDK or whatever other software we decided to build in.
Yeah,
So
we chose it at a good time, right when it was first launching, and it's growing. There were 4 or 5 studios, at least at GDC this year, who are making Unity games, and I only expect that to continue. The engine is growing rapidly, and so getting in early is really a good idea. Learning it now.
And they're really cool. They let us sit at their booth. Like,
Yeah.
what else do you want?
We love Unity
yeah.
All
a
right.
lot.
So we only have like 20 minutes left, so we're gonna kind of kick
Speed
through
on
this.
through.
Okay.
Well, we can go back there. We'll just talk real quick about those other ones. Kim, go back. So we use Google Wave. Kind of dying now. Great collaborative resource. We put our art up there. People could critique our art if we're ready to go on back and forth. That was before we had mandatory meetings, so it worked out really well. Now we have mandatory meetings, so you can just kind of see people while they're working on it. Dropbox. I now have like 8 gigs of storage just from the
You're
amount
so
of referrals
lucky.
I have, which is awesome. But it's great. I never forget anything. You put it in the Dropbox, you go to the school, you transfer it to the end drive, and anything you delete off there is always there forever. You can just restore it. So there is no reason for anybody to ever come to class and say, oh, I lost my flash drive. Use Dropbox. You can do anything with it. Facebook we use. We have a group, small group on the side. Mostly we just talk shit to each other on it, but it actually is relevant sometimes because we can post, we're having a meeting at this time, we're having an emergency meeting for whatever reason. Somebody finds a bug in the game that's actually broken. You put it in Facebook, and how many people do work and stay on Facebook the whole time? Everybody here. Yeah, exactly. So Facebook's awesome, and we've kind of moved away from Google Wave towards Facebook because it's allowed us to be so collaborative that way. And then Assembla, I don't even want to talk about that.
I'll chat about that for like a quick minute. Assembla's really good for assigning tasks to people. It's a free tool, so like really use good collaboration between all of us, especially with all the members, because you can assign a ticket or a task, and then assign it to someone, say Zach here, and then he could delegate. He could pretty much delegate it to whoever he wants, and then we set sprints and milestones based on the amount of tickets that we have in the like what we talked about in the previous lead meetings. So it's definitely been a great organizational tool to set our milestones and meet our deadlines and stuff like that.
I'm gonna jump in on that. I think one of the most important things to take away from all the software we use and how we use it in different ways is find something that fits your structure. Be willing to learn something new, like Assembla. I walked in knowing nothing about it. I now enjoy using the tool, but it's not, okay, enjoy using the tool. It makes my life a little bit easier because I don't forget stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not for everybody, right? We don't force the art team to use Assembla because it simply slows them down and is not beneficial. Don't force people into this rigid structure in such a small team because honestly, you don't need to. You're not getting millions of dollars to make your game. It's just make it fun and make it work for you.
Crunches.
We talked about this a little bit about how our crunch times are, which happened anytime we had a big release. We had one for IGF. We had like end of semester crunches always, and then we had another one for when we had to present for GDC to the school. And like Brendan said, crunches were fun. Like you think you should hate it, but we're here till 5 a.m. and like we got 67 Mountain Dews in our body, but it's it's actually a good time because we're with a group of people we enjoy, and you can really see the progress. Like, it's kind of cool when somebody can't make it to it, and then they come in the next day and they're like, oh, holy shit, like, the game's completely different because we put in 40 new things, overnight. So it's really cool to see the progress from one day to the next when you're doing something like that. And it really brings the team
I
together.
really enjoyed having lots of big tangible milestones rather than, hey, in 10 months our game's going to be done. It was like, yo, in 3 months we need to be here.
Yep.
6 months we need to be here.
What do you need? What don't we have? What can we do?
And
to
even
fix
with
it?
that, just setting soft milestones only works so well. When you have to submit your game to an IGF release, it really sinks in that I need to get this together. And so setting as hard of milestone as you can really help develop the game further.
If you get the advantage to take a class, you can maybe say, this is going to be my midterm.
Yeah, that's
something,
right. Yes, we have pictures. This is what our game looked like semester 1, and it looks awful, gross.
Yeah.
So then we moved on This is kind of like mid-construction level of a second semester. It's starting to
IGF.
look a little bit better, yeah.
Give or take.
And then this is fairly recent. I mean, our art style has been solidified. It's obviously been changed. You can play the most current version online, but you can see the transition, and most of these transitions occurred overnight during a crunch. So, just a few more minutes here. Obviously, like I said, we had some challenges with our team, apart from fighting with each other. One of the huge ones was upgrading. Unity upgraded their system from 2.6 to 3.0. Completely wrecked our netcode.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk too much about that, but we had to make a decision whether or not to roll with Unity 2.6 and continue using the old stuff, or to adapt and roll with the punches on the new one. And it wound up working for us, but it was a big decision because if we didn't finish on time, it would have ruined us. So that was a big one. And then we have our team's biggest thing is we have a problem with documentation. We kind of fly by the seat of our pants, and it's not recommended at all.
8
So
designers and they can't document.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was impressive in how bad we were at this.
Documentation's everything. I
Yeah.
would have to say, and especially like when you're going through all those milestones and you're breezing through them and you think you're on a roll and you're going, okay, something doesn't work. All right, where's our literature that we have to go back and check it out? And you go, oh wait, we don't have any.
Yeah,
So then you have to make decisions on the fly, and no one really wants to do that, you know, and call an audible at like fourth quarter, 1 minute left. So
Yeah.
So I would recommend going in between. We had pretty much zero documentation, but I highly don't recommend making the Bible that you're going to follow. This is how the game will work exactly to the T. Try to find the median ground where you have enough documentation so that you can, when someone has a question, they can consult it and figure it out.
Especially when you bring new people on a team and you don't have anything to show them to read.
Right.
It sucked. And it's really hard to integrate somebody in your team when you don't have something to show them. So that was one of the things we struggled with. We want to caution against before you start making your game. Make sure it's laid out.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I have awesome advice that we got while we were at the Unity booth. The guy from Chair came over, and they're a small team of about 11, I think he said. And they're the guys that worked on Shadow Complex, which is very similar to what our game is, and Infinity Blade. And he basically said the planning stage took like the first 3 months. Like you said, we did nothing but planning. They brought all their levels in, and no offense, Andy, but this is what we get critiqued on the most is our level design and our art within the level. And so if we had spent more time planning and thinking about the things like, you know, you can't see the main character when you walk through, or we need secret areas, or you should be able to high jump here now, but you can't do it later. Like going back and creating secret areas after you've done everything sucks. You have to redesign a lot of levels and stuff. So what they did is they went through and they planned everything on paper, and then they put it in UDK. They did PSP, is that what it's called? So they did that, and then they went back and did it again. And just the amount of planning you do before you create something saves you so much time when you go in to create it. For the art team, we didn't have a style guide. We didn't have anything to go with. We went halfway through the second semester, and we were finally like, this looks like 40 different people worked on stuff, and they're just plowing it together, and it didn't work. So we had to sit down and go through an art style change, which created more work again. I mean, 2 weeks of just updating stuff. And if we had been smart, we would have done it before, so that way we could have known what we were doing going into it instead of fixing our problems after they arise. We could have planned and prevented most of them. And Westman's been great about that because he's made all these mistakes before. So he kind of can come in and steer us in the right way, be like, hey, maybe you should document this. We're like, assembly's stupid, we don't need that. But
yeah, don't adopt the structure while it's too late in the game, you know, because I know I've tried to, you know, try to attach either a pipeline change or, you know, something like that. And when you enter crunch mode, and then the entire majority of the team is like, we don't have time to adopt the proper pipeline because we're too far in. So then you end up, you know, having to, you know, make those tough decisions where like, okay, well then we'll have to just learn from that mistake, and then next milestone we'll fix it, or, you know, maybe we'll do it in another project. But for right now, you know, you have to roll with the punches. So.
I'll just pick up on something you just said there about, you know,
we're still rambling.
you hit these milestones and you realize you've kind of hosed yourself. And part of the philosophy of the rapid iteration agile methodology is that when you have these time-boxed sprints of like 3 weeks, at the end of that period, you do give yourself that time to, okay, what went well, what didn't go so well, what could we improve on? So it's not just making the game better, it's making the process better. So everybody's always thinking about how to improve things.